All right, so today is kind of an extension on what we already did in class on Tuesday. We're just going to take it a step further and develop a slightly different graph, this time with a little bit of a different control, so that we can annotate something that's pretty special. So here's what I already did, and I'd like you to just kind of do the same thing right now. I just replaced the connections here. The only thing I replaced is I used the direct normal radiation and I plugged that into input data.
Direct normal radiation.
Yeah, so direct normal radiation, which is just what we're going to use as a measure of intensity. We're not really going to be able to, just because of you guys aren't you guys are not engineers yet, so we're not going to do the full conversion and figure out exactly what is going to be comfort at this stage. We will do some comfort level calculations with this kind of stuff later on. But what we're going to do is basically look at the direct normal radiation, which is the amount of solar radiation hitting your building at a perpendicular plane to the angle of the sun ray. Okay, so it's basically the direct sun radiation. So we're going to use this just as an approximation of intensity so that we can develop a graph that's going to give us a rather informative understanding of what times of the day we should be considering shading. That's basically it. So one of the things I switched over to normal radiation. The other thing that I did was I removed the low bound and high bound. By disconnecting that, I get a full spread that it measures just based on the data that we've given it. And the other thing that I will do is modify my colorization so that it's a smooth gradient, so that it gives me a more accurate portrayal of the spread of information. So I'm going to, let me get into this a little bit. So I'm going to get rid of one of my middle connections. I right click and pull upward. I'm going to move the gray to the middle-ish. And then I'm going to just pull red to the right and black to the left. So it gives me a more smooth gradient. Go ahead and hit OK. So what you should have will look something like this. This is where basically there's, if you can tell, from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. for the most part, except for in the summer months, there's almost no direct solar radiation on the building at all. From 6 p.m. on, there's almost no direct solar radiation on the building at all. You can see that there's a little bit of gray. So these would be the months that you're getting, later in the evening, you're getting some solar radiation. Okay, so this is the graph that we're going to export, but we're going to export a couple of extra things here. So we need to A, bake the graph. And then B, I want to bake all hours of the day so that I can carefully plot a line that I'm going to use to measure where that solar radiation is going to, or where the shading is going to occur at particular times of the year. So to do that, I need to modify the number of segments that I'm splitting. And I'm not sure what's pre-programmed here, if anything. So this one says it's 20... That might not be it. It might be a legend. Well, that's the number of segments, but I want graph curves to change.
Did you set your high bound and low bounds or no?
No, I disconnected.
Okay.
So one of the things that I want to do is get my every hour. I want a line that I can use, or maybe not every hour, but I want at least one more. I could just draw it in. I think that's what we're gonna do. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. Basically, we have to bake it. So let's go ahead and connect. Make sure if you open the same file, make sure that you have your layer on, and that the graph that you used before is no longer there, so that you can export a new one. So then I'm going to connect and bake, and I'll do the export process pretty simply. Actually, I think just connecting it would have baked it, right? Maybe I have to recompute. There we go. Turn it on, move it up. Oop. I'm lagging like crazy. Okay, there we go. So there's my graph, but I want to also extract the curves themselves. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to just connect one of those params. Remember I said the params just house information. If I want to grab all of the curves and extract them into lines or curves, I can use this curve param right here. And I can plug graph curves into it. Oh, it gave me an error. Why? Oh, it's a mesh? It's coming through as a curve. That's odd. Okay, well, it looks like, all right, so the polyline curves came through. For some reason, there's a mesh included in that list, but the polyline curves came through. So even though it shows up as red, it's still usable. Notice how when you deselect, the curves are, well, they're showing red, but if you select it, they show green. Can you see that up there? Yeah, I think you can. So they're showing green. That means they're there. So at that point, all you really need to do is just bake that, and I'm going to select a layer to bake it onto. So I'm not sure exactly what layers are what anymore, so I'm just going to put it on layer 1. And then in Rhino, just select all those curves and pull them up. Yeah, we're probably all going to lag quite a bit here. So let me ask you a question here before I actually bring it out of the program and bring it into Illustrator. Why did I do this?
So you can mess with the graph itself.
You mean graphically, like change how
Yes.
it looks? Yeah, exactly. So when we do the entire graph all as one, those lines do come out. They're right here. But when we bring it into Illustrator, it's very, very difficult to select those lines. So just like when we do our building section, remember how I had us do a different section that we cut just for the cut lines, and then we drop it on top, right? So we're doing that here so that we have more controllability over what information we're showing. So the other thing I want to do is I want to just kind of copy these up so that I can get a duplicate here. So I'm not sure, do I have lines? Okay. And yes.
I can't bake the curve. I still bake the whole thing.
Okay. I'll come take a look. And then let me finish this thought, and then I'll come troubleshoot with all of you. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, if I want to be able to measure 6 p.m., 9 p.m., or 12 p.m. and 3 p.m., then I just need to make a copy of these lines, these curves, upwards at about half the height. So I'll need to draw a line in order to do that so that I can get my midpoint. Because this is not to scale right now, remember. And I just select all the horizontal curves like this, and then copy, and then go from the bottom to the midpoint. And now I have an extra line within which I can operate. Make sense?
Wait, how'd you do that?
I'll go through it again. just select all the curves. I drew a line on the side that was the height of one cell. That way, when I select these, I can copy and move it from the bottom to the midpoint. Yeah, midpoint is incredibly powerful for those of you guys who do arrays and stuff like that, or patterning exercises. Midpoint is very, very powerful. Okay, so I'm not going to capture on video the actual export process for this. We're going to pick it up again when we get back into Illustrator and start overlaying the information. What questions do you have before we do that? No? Okay.